How you set it up?
So just to explain the proceedings this evening, whether you intended to or not, you'll be attending a Rutherford Board of Education meeting. And we don't often get this many people at our meetings. We're happy to see everyone here. So we'll be starting the meeting with our normal procedures. I'm Kevin McLean. I'm your board president. We have other board members here. I'll introduce only the board members, but we have Sally Librera, Dr. Racine, Eddie Rowland, Dennis Healy, Shelley Ahmed, Dr. Alati, Diane Jones hiding behind me. And our vice president, Dennis Mazzone, is held up in traffic coming out of New York. So this will be a formal meeting. I'll call it to order in a second, and we'll start by saluting the flag. And then the first order of business, after we do approval of our minutes, will be the special presentation, which is, I suspect, why most of you are here. So I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of October 28th of the Rutherford Board of Education. I would ask everyone to stand and pledge allegiance to the flag to your left. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And again, thank you for being here this evening. The first order of business, I would ask the secretary to please call the roll.
Thank you. Mrs. Ahmed? Here. Dr. Olati? Here. Mr. Healy? Here. Mrs. Jones? Present. Mrs. Librera? Mr. Mazzone? Dr. Racine? Here. Mr. Rowland? Here. And Mr. McLean? Here. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Little standard boilerplate here. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Rutherford Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place posted on the bulletin board outside of the Borough Clerk's office, mailed to the Herald, South Bergenite, and Record newspapers, and filed with the Borough Clerk. Hard copies of the agenda are available in the meeting room, and the agenda is posted electronically on the Friday before the meeting date on the district's website at www.rutherfordschools.org. Regular meetings of the Rutherford Board of Education, including this, will be broadcast without editing during a 2-hour segment as limited by Comcast time constraints on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. on Comcast Public Access Channel and on FiOS Channel 38. A video of the meeting can also be viewed on our website at www.rutherfordschools.org. The video link can be found by opening the Board of Education link and clicking on Public Meetings and then Videos. Any member of the public who wishes to view a DVD of the meeting can make that request in writing to the board secretary. Members of the board, in your packets were the minutes from the regular meeting of October 7th and the executive session of that same evening. Were there any corrections or modifications to be made to those minutes? Seeing none, I would ask the secretary to please enter the minutes into the record and post them. This evening we have a special presentation, which I will ask our principal, Mr. Frank Morano, to introduce. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone to the 2019 Board of Education Awards ceremony. As the principal of RHS, it is with great pride that we recognize this distinguished group of students. Having the work ethic and desire to maintain a 3.7 GPA and no grade lower than a B- is truly amazing. Although I am constantly bragging about what a comprehensive high school we have and how successful our arts and music and athletic programs are, we are an academic institution first. These students are receiving awards tonight because of their hard work and commitment to academic excellence. I would like to recognize and thank some important people that assist and lead our students daily. Our superintendent of schools, Mr. Hurley. You can clap for him. Mr. DeBarry, our assistant principal. Dr. Hopkins, the director of guidance. Our business administrator, Mr. Kelly. Our extremely supportive Board of Education members. And of course, our hard-working faculty and staff. Most importantly, I'd like to thank and congratulate all the parents tonight. Your support and involvement in our school system, is that my sign to cut it? Is truly appreciated. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jack Hurley, Superintendent of Schools.
Thank you, Mr. Morano. And just to echo a few of the comments that Mr. Morano made, I first of all want to congratulate all of the students. It truly is an honor. I know how difficult it is not only to maintain the grades that you need to maintain with the courses that you take, but I'm sure that many, if not all of you, are involved in co-curricular activities and plays, band, athletics, clubs, student council, so many of activities that take up so much of your time. I'm sure we have people here tonight that were playing volleyball this afternoon and other activities, and to manage that schedule, it's remarkable. And to do it for 2, 3, and hopefully for those of you in your senior year, 4 years, to get that recognition at graduation is quite an accomplishment. But as a longtime educator and a parent, I also know how important it is for parents on a night like tonight, so enjoy this. These are moments that I know make you very proud, and you should be proud. And we're happy for the partnership we have with you and how you help us work with your sons and daughters to get to this moment and other significant moments. So enjoy this evening. So on behalf of the Board of Education, I want to thank and congratulate all of you. And as Mr. Morano said, this is a group effort. It's the parents, it's the students, it's the faculty, it's the staff. Faculty going back, in many cases, to kindergarten and first grade as the progress through our schools goes on for your children. Enjoy the evening and congratulations. And I'm pleased to introduce our Director of Guidance and your MC for the evening, Dr. Shannon Hopkins.
The Board of Education Scholastic Award is presented to those students who meet the criteria of a 3.7 or higher weighted grade point average for an academic year while also not receiving a final grade of less than a B- while attending Rutherford High School. The Bronze Award is presented to students who earn this distinction for one academic year. We would ask that you hold your applause until all names have been read so that each name can be heard. Mr. Kevin McLean, President of the Board of Education, will present the Bronze Awards. Mia Capabianco. Nicholas D'Ambrosio. Cole Forte. Brandon Freed. Nicholas LaRosa. Virgil Minnick. Andrea Molinette. Roman Nelson. Sophia Pinella. Nicholas Rendine. Our juniors, Ella Brown. Henry Gomes. Christian Gumas. Eric Gumas. Chloe Lafarga. Eamon Murphy. Nicholas Myers. Joel Pizantes. Berker Zor. Our sophomores, Alexander Anacletu. Natalie Augustifer. Sophie Austin. Adea Baladami. Melissa Bautista. Kaylee Bowman. Matthew Bronico. Chloe Burke. Joseph Cantelmi. Alyssa Castillo. Rachel Castro. Juliana Simillo. Nicholas Simillo. James Conlon. James Ernst. Matthias Hannett. Jacob Herninko. Gabriela Jimenez. Jay Cacadia. Mia Carroll. Olivia Catafiotis. Andrew Kitchob. Jean Lee. Miranda Lenigan. Caleb Macassette. Christopher Marquez. Luke Marin. Catherine McCarthy. Ava Malor. Gian Menjivar. Isabella Miranda. Harris Mulick. Zach O'Rourke. Abigail Oliveros. Amaya Pascas. Dia Patel. Jocelyn Rodriguez. Douglas Russell. Justin Sarnowski. Abigail Schmidt. Haley Scott. Dana Soraya. Omar Siddiqui. Olivia Smith. Bridget Sullivan. Arnav Sundaram. Melissa Tabaki. Logan Tridell. Kimberly Vosbrink. Timon Walczyk. Emily Margaret Weber. Those are your Bronze Award winners, if you'd like to give them a round of applause. The Silver Award is presented to students who achieve a 3.7 or higher grade point average and no final grade less than a B- for 2 academic years. I would again ask that all applause is held until all names have been read. Mr. Frank Moreno will present the Silver Awards. Marta Graudina. Samantha Lee. Amelia McCarthy. Eric Nelson. Desiree Rivera. Sarah Scotty. Magda Sobolewska. Luke Sarowek. Alessandra Tartabono. Juniors, Julia Alati. Marina Armanos. David Berstowski. Gabriela Campos. Cal Chase. Kira Chaffee. Francis Corniculo. Tony DeSalvo. Shayla Jerkovic. Luke Famey. Daniel Gregory. Ashley Haskamp. Paige Holman. Shane Kelly. Sion Kim. Emma Legacy. Gabriella Leahy. Megan Lichtenberger. Amy Linsalata. Juliana Lorenz. Vishu Mangukia. Gabriel Mendez. Ella Mikowski. Joy Morales. Vraj Parikh. Jonathan Ramick, who's in crutches. Give a wave. Where is he? Oh. Oh, I'm sorry, Tristan. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. I apologize. Stephanie Rettenberger. Timothy Rabadnera. Christina Rodriguez. Teresa Sasso. Ava Shaibi. Rushab Shah. Hiba Siddiqui. Siva Anand Sivakumar. James Smith. Sophia Sertival. Perna Tipesha. Lauren Thorvey. Eva Tobin. Gabriella Tomzak. Kanisha Vagasia. Riva Vias. Alyssa Weber. Catherine Whaley. And Emma Wong. A round of your applause, thank you. And finally, the Gold Award is presented to students who achieve a 3.7 grade point average or higher for 3 academic years, as well as no final grade below a B-. The seniors who earn a Gold Award will also have the opportunity to earn a plaque at graduation to honor 4 academic years earning a Board of Education award. Mr. Jack Hurley, Superintendent of Schools, will present the Gold Awards. Skylar Ahern. Grace Anderson. Erin Augustifer. Bridget Boylan. Lauren Bronico. Joanna Calvo. Jonah Cantelmi. Rian Chowdhury. Catherine Corcoran. Jack DeBarry. Kyle Donahue. Emily Feza. Madison Hebert. Brian Ngwanti. Nabwija Kanafu. Jinso Kim. Anthony Louie. Matus Marciniak. Natalie Marquez. Emily Muller. Kevin No. Okay, and now Tristan with the crutches, if you want to raise your hand. Rebecca Rojas. Sarah Rotondi. Christina Scanlon. Stacy Shang. Tira Sherlock. Matthew Silva. Ola Smachinsky. Skylar Wazinski. And Carolina Wisniewski. And now I'm going to hand it back to Mr. Morano, who's going to announce a couple of special awards.
Thank you, Dr. Hopkins. A few special awards for this evening. The Xerox Award for Innovation and Technology. The recipient of this award goes to a student who displays a strong interest in innovation and technology and has a high level of achievement in this area. We honor Anthony Louie as this year's recipient. The George Eastman Young Leaders Award and Scholarship. This award goes to a student who displays strong leadership experience at school and in the community and has high grades in challenging courses and extensive involvement in extracurricular activities. This year's recipient is Brian Ngwanti. The Bausch and Lomb Science Award. The winner of this award is a student who demonstrates high achievement and rigor in science classes and earned high PSAT, SAT math scores. This year's recipient is Bridget Boylan. And lastly, the 2020 National Merit Scholarship commended students. The National Merit Scholarship Program recognizes students for exceptional academic promise demonstrated by their performance on the PSAT. This year's commended scholars are Rianne Chowdhury and Tiara Sherlock. Once again, let's give a round of our applause to all our students. This concludes the evening. Please feel free to take pictures and hang around if you would like. Thank you. Oh, hold on. I did this for 6 years.
He jumped me. Remember I said we're in a meeting, a formal meeting? Thank you. We're going to break from the meeting in a little while, and the board will go down to the cafeteria to conclude our business, which many of you may have recognized on the agenda includes some fabulous appointments, some approval of bills, a few policies to review. So you're all welcome to come down and review those proceedings with us. Actually, we don't get a lot of regulars at the meetings. You're all welcome. I'd like to take a moment before I adjourn us for a short bit, is to make a plug. I mentioned the members of the board who are up here. All members of the board are volunteers. We have 9 members of the board. We operate by committees. Each member is on several committees, and that committee is charged with diving deeply into a subject and bringing back information to the rest of the board. We work on rotating 3-year terms. So each year, 3 seats come up for re-election. I'm mentioning this because on next Tuesday, during the public election, November election, at the bottom of the ballot, it almost gets lost, but at the bottom of the ballot, you'll be asked to choose 3 candidates for the next 3-year term to elect to be your representatives on the Board of Education. Our Vice President, Mr. Mazzone, is running again, and we also have on the ballot Mr. Chris Conti, Mr. James Spayberry, and Mr. Frank Wilson. So again, you'll see all 4 of those names at the bottom, and you're asked to vote for 3 of those. And of course, we encourage you to get out and vote on any election. Just to further the plug, as president, I got to shake hands with a number of your students, and it's one of several times a year I get to do that, and it's a thrill. It really is a thrill to share in your pride, your accomplishments. Despite the prematurely gray hair, my daughters graduated just 11 and 4 years ago, so I still remember what that's like. Congratulations to each and every one of your students. You make us very proud and very happy to do the volunteer work that we do. And I would, if no objections from any member of the board, we'll take a pause and we will go to the cafeteria to continue our meeting, and we'll leave the auditorium for pictures and friends. Yeah. So we'll come back into session then and pick up on the agenda. I'm actually, the first order of business would be the report of our student representative, and you're free to go back upstairs if you want. And congratulations on receiving your award.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. First, I would like to congratulate every student who has received the Board of Education Award this year. Whether it be the Bronze, Silver, or Gold Award, receiving the Board of Ed Award is a high honor awarded to many students every year. The sheer number of students receiving the award reflects on the teachers and the quality of education offered here at Rutherford High School. I am proud to say I am surrounded by students who work hard and are able to succeed in their classes. Tonight's award ceremony has very ironic timing, as tomorrow starts our Quarter 1 benchmarks. Every quarter of the academic year, students take tests or complete projects that are worth 15% of their grade. We have this system instead of the typical midterms and finals that weigh very heavily on students' grades. I'm sure the students who just left here went home to continue studying for their assessments tomorrow. In athletics, we are nearing the end of the fall sports season. Winter sports registration opened a few weeks ago, and the first practices of the winter season start November 11th. The fall teams, especially the volleyball team that is 26-0, and the soccer teams that are entering their county tournaments, are representing the school and the town very well. Some JV sports have finished, however, most varsity teams are competing in counties, states, or other competitions outside of the regular season. Many of the students who received the Board of Education Award tonight are athletes as well, showing that many of our athletes are stellar students as well. These student athletes are a great representation of our school, showing how you can be both involved and still maintain good grades. In other news, the many other extracurriculars have been participating in competitions such as the marching band and the French Club Spelling Bee. Students all over the school are spending their free time getting involved in activities that help the school, themselves, and the community. Last week, the school celebrated Violence Awareness Week. Each day, there was a theme assigned corresponding to an idea associated with violence awareness. One day, we wore neon colors to promote brightness and happiness. We dressed as our favorite superheroes to pay tribute to the heroes in our lives. We wore our favorite socks to stomp out bullying and violence. Every student who dressed up won a point for Spirit Week and spread violence awareness through the school. It showcased how the students in the school can come together for a good cause. The Board of Education Awards tonight honor students who succeed academically in Rutherford High School. Although this is very important, we cannot forget about everything else that goes on in the school. Athletes, band members, and club members and leaders are just as integral to community RHS, although many do overlap with the Board of Ed honorees. Thank you so much, and I hope you all have a great night.
Thank you. Any questions regarding the report?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations again.
Thanks, Peter.
And if you want to go back.
I'm just going to go join my parents.
That's fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Congratulations again.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
So then we'll move on to the report of the superintendent, please.
Thank you. A couple of reminders of note. Schools closed November 5th for Election Day for students and faculty and staff, and the 7th and 8th for the Teachers Convention. The district is open for administrators and the like, but closed for faculty and staff. A reminder, if you don't remember or you're not aware because of where your students may be, we moved the teacher conferences in the elementary level to January this year to try to avoid the month of November, which has always been so fractured. So we'll see how that plays out this year in January. Okay. I want to review a few things regarding the facilities. I guess we'll stop calling it a referendum now that we're past that, officially past it. Not a lot's happening, but there's not a lot new to really go over with you. The professionals that we have working for us, the architectural firm, the project management firm, the bond counsel, the financial advisor, the auditor as well. We've been in various meetings, and they've been in district a great deal. And they're coming up with more detailed plans that will eventually go out to bid or to be bid on. The bond councils we're working to get ready for the sale in December. There's a resolution on tonight's agenda to approve the proceeding with the sale of bonds. So we've been doing a lot of work. We have another meeting this week with the architects and some of our administrators to look at some of the things specifically to their buildings. We met when Mr. Kelly and I, Mr. Jones was also in Langston, but Mr. Kelly and I met with the project management team and the architects there, as well as the bond counsel and the financial advisors there. So there's been a lot going on. And I'm very pleased with the effort, the energy, the number of people that we have. It's not just one architect or one person from the financial side. We have a team working with us, and it's been very, very productive. We're planning on meeting with the subcommittee of the Facilities Advisory Committee, the group of community members we had. If you remember, we had 3 or 4 members who had some experience with architectural or engineering, and we are going to meet with them probably in December, late November, early December. We also are going to be meeting with the Historical Preservation Group, probably in late November again. Union School is located in an area that is an historical area. The school itself is not, but in the last referendum, we found that working with them just to make sure they're comfortable with some of the exterior things that fit into the, their scheme of what is a historical site is worth. So we have that meeting. We also, when the election takes place and a new mayor is elected, I'll be reaching out to the new mayor to have a meeting to discuss some of those things that we were talking about with the current mayor and council in terms of the backfield and other concepts that are floating. So what we're looking at is probably right after the new year, early January, we'll have a very clear and definitive timeline that it's for everything that right now is still kind of, in the planning stage. I don't expect there to be much change from the planning stage, but we'll be ready in January, February to really hit the ground running with bids starting to go out shortly thereafter for certain projects and things like that. And the plan is still, and I think it will come to fruition, that in every building, construction will begin in June, or a little bit earlier, perhaps. Now, keep in mind that in multi-project, like here in the high school, where you're doing the facade and classrooms, and in Pierpont and Union, where there's a gym being built and a gym being decommissioned and the like, some of the projects are going to be done. They're going to be done over time, where you want the new gym built before you decommission the old gym, so that students are going to the new gym the next year. So it won't be all projects in all buildings this summer, but we'll be starting in every building. That's the plan. The plan is the smaller projects like Lincoln and the kindergarten center, where they could be completed hopefully sometime early next year. So, we have a good plan developing, and like I said, probably right after the new year, it'll be firm enough where I feel comfortable going through details publicly, so that we're not misleading people. Okay, but there's been a lot of work going on, and I appreciate all the work that everyone's doing, and I'm very happy with the team that's been assembled. The architectural team, I think, Mr. Kelly, we don't work with one architect, we work with three, and then there's two or three that we don't see at the meetings who have been assigned to be the key people in projects. So this is not a one-man or two-person operation. It's a real team. And I know, Mrs. Jones, you were there at the meeting, but you were there later in the evening when we met with a lot of PSA folks, and there were about 4 or 5 gentlemen and women on the project, right? So we're moving along. And that's really been the focus over the last couple of weeks, for the next couple of years. That is going to be the focus. I don't know if anybody has any questions or.
Just on communications regarding construction.
Right. We have a meeting with Laura Bishop and her associates. We're hoping to continue and to bring maybe a resolution, if not to the November meeting, to the December meeting, to continue with them. They have we will continue the website that we have for One Rutherford and point people to that for updates. Major updates will go on the other website. They have given a whole plan of how they want to proceed. Newsletters, website. Also, very important from their perspective, working with the principals. In fact, they're going to come to an administrative council meeting to work with the principals. We don't want this to be all building all the time. It's very important that all the good things that we see in Board of Ed awards, what Bridget talks about and so on, that people are seeing that. We don't want people to just focus on, look, let's face it, there's going to be inconveniences, right, to our students, to our faculty, to our staff, to the neighbors. We have to also make sure we're getting all the good work that's going on, and they're going to work with us on that too. So I think once that plan gets developed, that's going to be developed in concert with the architects, the engineer, the administrators, where we want to know, I'm asking those professionals to tell me, what, so that I can share them with you, what are those mileposts where you really want to get the information out? Because there's a fine line between giving too much information and not giving enough, so we want to get that. But they have a good plan, and I'm very pleased with them. I'll tell you, they get schools, they get education. They were down at school boards as well. They kind of, have a good handle on what to put out and how to put it out. So we'll get that going as well. Okay.
I have one question. You mentioned the facade and mortar. I David, you have such a voice. I don't want to say anything, but it sounds like a bedroom voice. Sometimes I get mesmerized and I can't.
And my student said that too. He said, throw him out of class and he'll be asleep again.
But you started to talk about when things were going to get done, and I missed the part.
The
about-
Mortimer Avenue wing well, again, nothing's final yet, so I'm a little hesitant. But that will be not the first summer. The work will be the second summer. That's going to be a very challenging project because to try to think that that's going to get done in 2 or 3 summers without extending into fall or starting in spring is challenging, right? And we have a limited amount of space in this building to move students to. So we're going to renovate the science classes first so that every available classroom and space is open, so that when you take that section of Mortimer and you say, well, for a month, these 6 classes, have to go somewhere, we have that other part done first. So that will begin, if the plan stays the way it is now, the summer of '21. And the science classes, the interior work would be done the summer of '20. Okay, but that, again, nothing's finalized yet. And it's going to be done in segments. One of the things we're going to do with the engineers and the project management is not just look at theoretical plans, but we're going to walk the building, again, with them, and have them clearly mark out when they say a section, what constitutes a section, so that Mr. Morano can see, okay, I'm talking about X number of classes, and how long do we think we might spill into, spring or fall. So honestly, that's the biggest challenge, that wing. The other places, it'll be noise, and but it won't be interference. If you think, just for example, not to belabor it, but if you think you build the new gym in Union School, and then the current gym is going to get turned into classrooms, is not connected to anything else. So work can go on there while the school year is going on, with certain safeguards in it. Like we did here when we did the renovation. Pierpont, very similar thing. You build the new gym, and you then do the demolition and construction, but it's not connected to the building, so you're not displacing classes. Lincoln, you're not displacing classes. Kindergarten Center, you're not displacing classes. Here, it's going to be a challenge. Mr. Morano likes to keep his hair very cropped. I said to him before, you do that on purpose. I don't do it on purpose. He may not have to worry about that anymore. That's what happened to me in the 2002 renovation. I had a full head of hair in 2002. But it'll get done. That's what I mean. It is a very, for the folks working with us and for us, and for the people who are working here on this, it is a challenge and a big project. But I'm very confident we have a good team of people, and we'll get it. Done.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment about the sequence of events developing, but you have some unique constraints, and that's children and students. And
children, students, after-school activities, community expectations.
Yeah, because that's, I think, it leaves with the communication, it's just that.
Right.
That it's not just get a team of construction and
Once we're ready, we're going to be ready to hit the ground in January, I think, with communication, appropriate communication at the time. And things that, like I said, certain things aren't that important to share, other things are. And that's why I think it's also important to communicate everything that we're doing. Keep people informed of we're not closed for construction. We still have kids achieving things and faculty and staff achieving things. We have to get that word out too.
Very good.
Okay, and that's it. And that's really it for me. I'm good. We can
Okay, we
move on.
move on to report of the president, which is even shorter. Most of us, I think, were at the Meet the Candidates night, and it was really well organized, sparsely attended. I'd say maybe there were 25 people, something like that. 25. I don't know if anybody did a head count. But all of the candidates presented themselves well, and yeah, at the end, everyone, the one opinion that everybody agreed on was that of the 4 candidates, any 3 would serve the board well. So it was a good candidates night. I think it's what it was meant to be, the way they designed it to be. I will be missing our November 18th meeting in deference to another seat on an airplane, but I've already checked with Mr. Mazzone, and he will be here to conduct the meeting. The evaluations, the self-evaluations are all complete. I spoke with or emailed with the school board's representative, who will be compiling them and sending them to me. And he asked if what they prefer to do is to have a school board's representative come in, present the results, talk about it in the context of the larger picture, which we did not do last year. We've done it in years past, but I wanted to kind of get your take your temperature on what you think we should do. I told him, I asked him if he would be available on December 9th. Selfishly, that will be my last meeting. So I asked him if he would be available. I haven't heard back from him yet about that. But I don't know what your general opinions are. If you'd want to have an outside voice, outside set of eyes looking at it and giving us an interpretation and maybe some ideas. Yes, Mrs.
We're talking about Matt Lee?
That's who I've been in touch with, but it's not necessarily
If he
him.
doesn't come, we can still do it then.
Oh, you can still do it, and it could be done, it could be done anytime.
Yeah, I think he does a good job with it, and I think
Yeah.
it refreshes everybody remembering what it's about. And if he can't do it,
Very
we'll
good.
do it about it.
Yeah.
Helps out if you call him and everything.
So it sounds like at least 2 people would like to have school boards, yes?
I think it's a great idea to have an outside perspective present the results. I don't remember seeing someone do that in the past 2 or 3 years, but
Last year, we had Matt here for the that was for the superintendent evaluation. But I think 2 or 3 years ago, we had, or maybe it was, I think Matt was here one other time.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's, they present the compilation of results and then cite trends and not really benchmarking against other districts, but some feel for where you are. And I would ahead of time ask him to be thinking about what we've talked about, that our longer goal is that we're looking for activities and involvement to make us even a stronger board. So I'll go ahead and I'll try to set that up. If he can do it in December, I'll try to do it in December if it's okay. Yeah. Okay.
Suppose.
If not, I don't know when.
Well, I would suggest, perhaps, if I may, if he can't do it in December, then we just have a discussion in December, because keep in mind that January, well, now I'm rethinking, January, there's potential for 2 or even 3, right? Potential new board members.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if that's a discussion that's better to, I don't know, to be had then?
You have to complete it, so you need to do the analysis, because that has to be done by November. So whether you don't present it by that point.
Well, why don't we discuss it in December, even if he's not here? We could always discuss it again if need be, and
Well, and I can send an email to him. So he's got to do the compilation, he said, or someone there does.
Yeah.
And he asked if I wanted him to send it or to come in and present. He said we try to come in and present these. That's what their preference. I said yes, both.
Yes.
Send it,
Right.
and I'll discuss with the board if we would have you come in. So, okay. We'll see. I'll see what.
Can I make
and
one?
I'll ask him his thought about new membership first.
Yeah, we could always share. I just want to make one more comment, and I said this when this conversation came up a month or 2 ago, and the lack of hair and the hair that I have being gray, people think you're wise. I've heard from 3 different superintendents. Maybe we should do let's go to commercial break or something. I heard from 3 different superintendents in the past week or two for some advice about things that are going on at their public board meetings with their board. And again, I think, don't be too hard on yourself, because I think this board functions, I don't want to say unique, but, it's pretty unique and functions well. So it's always room for improvement, right?
Yeah, and
It's always room for
that's more
improvement.
the spirit
But,
is
yeah,
that,
but I think,
the enemy of great is good.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Same thing. So-
and one guy's advice, I said, well, I don't know, move to Rutherford. I don't know what advice to give you. It's something. So anyway, I commend you on that. It makes, I know my job and Mr. Kelly's job much easier to do. It doesn't mean easy, but easier to accomplish when we can work with folks and get cooperation.
Very good. And going back to the candidates night, I have to say, I was, I looked at and listened to the group, and, I will miss working with people, yourselves and other members who may come on the board in a very positive, proactive team. It's great to be involved with a team like this, and certainly has been a great experience for me. Anyway, we'll move on then to the next. Any questions or comments? Okay, the next order of business then at some time of the evening at 8:28 is to open the meeting to the public for comment. We would ask that it be limited to comment on agenda items. We have no member of the public wishing to make comments, so we then will move into our new business where there will be action to be taken, and we'll follow the format of asking each committee chair to do an explanation of what's in front of us, and then to, if there's no questions and such, to formally move them, and we'll second them and move on. So, under personnel, Mrs. Ahmed, please.
Okay, we'll be taking hopefully action on 16 different motions. 1 and 2 are resignations, Lori Stain and Adrian Canardi. 3 and 4 are hiring interim assistant principal and acting principal, Charles Ryan and Shauna Lone Wright. 5, Albina Semenova, a long-term substitute special education teacher, for her approval. To approve number 6, Christine Bucarato as a lunch monitor at Washington School, substitute teacher assistant on number 7 at, where was she going to be? Oh, Joyce Gardner, they just give a name. 8, elementary co-curricular for the following elementary co-curricular assignments and stipends for Sarah and Kuprick, Jennifer Augustifer, and Laura Abram. 9, Lauren, now this was a question here. I asked 4 people, how do you pronounce this?
Dejecki.
I was right. To approve a disability leave with her for pay elementary teacher at Washington School for leave of absence on the Family Leave Act. 10, home instructor. Approve Helen Wetzel as a home instructor. 11, travel reimbursements for the following, Debbie Rinovich, Jack Hurley, Joseph Gilly, Diane Jones, and Sarah McGarren. That was number 11. Number 12 is for John Leneve. Leneve is a part-time teacher assistant at Union School. 13, Rebecca Dark as a part-time teacher assistant at Union. Victorian Varlone, part-time teacher assistant at Washington School. 15, Mark Genticelli, approve a leave of absence under the Family Leave Act without pay. And 16, travel reimbursements for Ann Hetzel. So, with the recommendation of the superintendent, I'd like to move the following resignations, retirements, salary adjustments, reassignments, appointments according whatever, with the board's approval.
There's one correction. No, in Ms. Dejecki, again, I caught this on Friday when I came back into the office and was already out. She is a language arts teacher at Union School. So we can make that for the minutes.
At Union?
Okay.
Yep. Language arts at Union School. Yep. Everything else is the same.
Rebecca
Okay. So Mrs. Ahmed has moved personnel 1 through 16 with the cited correction on number 9, changing Washington School to Union School. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Healy. Any questions or discussion regarding the resolutions? None. Ask the secretary to poll the board, please.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Dr. Olati?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Cabrera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mrs. Ahmed, I've always found your ability to pronounce names astounding and very, very good. Always
Getting
most
very
impressed.
sentimental, Kevin. I'm going to
No,
start
no,
crying.
no. For me,
Because-
who struggles with anything beyond one syllable, like Smith, or as I introduced, Jones.
It's Smite.
We now move to curriculum and instruction, and
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Jones, would you take us through that?
There are 6 resolutions for board member consideration under curriculum and instruction. Resolution 1, out-of-district placement for the 19 and 20 school year. Number 2, field trips on the approved stats list, which now total 55. 3, emergency bus evacuation drills for the school year. 4, overnight trip. This is for the band and choir music going to Boston. The sponsors are Patricia Blanchard and Michael Forno. Resolution 5 is an HIB decision to affirm the superintendent's decision. And 6 is home instruction for 1 student. These are pretty straightforward. I don't know if there's any explanation needed on any of these. So if anybody has any questions, it's fine. Otherwise, I move forward 6 resolutions under CNI.
Thank you. And seconded by Mr. Rowland. Comments before we poll the board? None. I'd ask the secretary to poll the board, please.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Dr. Olati?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Cabrera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes on 1 through 4 and 6. Abstain on number 5, please.
Abstain on number 5. Thank you very much. Motion's carried.
Now we'll move into the area of finance. Dr. Racine?
Okay, finance, we have 8 motions. First on here is a review of the referendum. There was 1,545 yeses and 869 noes, and we know it passed, so we'll be voting on that today. So numbers, number 1 is the approval of bills. Numbers 2 and 3 are the Secretary of Treasury report for August, September 19. Number 4 are the budget transfer lists. Number 5 is a transportation contract that we will be providing service, so we're getting paid for that one. Number 6 is to accept the IDEA grant. And 7 is to approve the bond series. There's a lot of detail there, I won't read it all. But with the bond series of $45,330,000, these are a series of bonds over 25 years, and the sale will happen on December 4th.
That's the plan, yes.
Right, yes. Okay, Number 8 is to pay and contract, it's way many pages. To pay for services for our Muni advisors, for our Phoenix advisors, who is helping us with all this. So, right.
So I know our bond counsel was not able to be here this evening, as
Well,
we hoped, but if there's anything you can say about the bond resolution?
Well, I haven't given up on her. She just had another commitment in Hillsborough at 7 o'clock, so she may walk in at any moment. But this is basically boilerplate language to establish the form and the terms of the sale of the bonds come December 4th. As Dr. Racine said, it is 25 years, and it does meet the forms of the bonds that are required by the finance department. So it basically just lays it out, the terms of the years and how the sale will take place.
And so we will raise the entire amount through the sale of the bonds.
Correct.
And then what is the mechanism once the state is reimbursing?
Well, we will receive the entire $45 million, $45,330,000 through the sale of the bonds. The state's piece comes on an annual basis as we budget for payment of principal and interest. 40% of that will come from them. So when we get to the budget time in March, actually when we get the state aid numbers, that will include debt service aid, which we've never had before. So we'll be able to budget it, and then we will pay the 60%. So that's how that.
So that 40% then will be relief to our local taxpayers?
Yes.
Because it will show in the budget? Thank you.
Can you just talk a little bit about the mechanics of the bond sale and how that works? Not necessarily the technical details of how it works, but in terms of how the rate is determined. And so we tonight approved the sale of the bonds, but the rate is not determined until the point of sale, correct?
That's correct. It's a competitive bid on December 4th, or whatever date this actually happens.
Okay.
So whoever wants to participate can.
Okay. And so we enter into the sale of the bonds, and at that point, we let the process move, and we by approving this tonight, are approving whatever the rate is that's determined on that December 4th sale.
Correct.
Yeah, best rate wins.
And then the whole transaction will close before Christmas, and we'll have that money in our hands so we can spend it as the taxpayers gave us the authority to do.
At what point do we know the rate that we secured?
We'll know it on December 4th. We'll
On
know it
December
that day. And we'll communicate that to the board, just so you know. The last we heard, the rates are quite a bit better than what we talked about throughout the whole process here. We talked about the tax impact. The rates are actually better than that. So we'll see how it plays out over the next 6 weeks. But
Okay, thanks.
Point out one. Yeah. So one good thing about our timing is that the first bond isn't due till 2021.
Right.
So we're not going to be, so even though we're getting the money in December, we're not paying it back till the first one's till 2021. So that helps out next year.
that's true. The first interest payment, though, will be due next December
It's December, right?
of 2020, but at that point, the state aid will have kicked in. And that was an issue. That's something we had to discuss to make sure, because the first state aid payment on the first interest payment is close to somewhere between $350,000 and $400,000. So we had to make sure this was structured in such a way that the state aid was coming in time for that. So that's the way it's been done.
Right, and I think that was, correct me if I'm mistaken, I think that was one of the benefits, which we may have discovered even after the fact, of having the vote when we did, because by going out to bond this calendar year, we will have money coming in ahead of that first interest payment. If we went out after January, that may not have been the case. We might have been hit with interest, and we would have had to front load that. So the timing was important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Yes, Dr. Singh.
So what's the earliest we start going out to bid? Is it once the money's in hand, or?
Well, no, you got to go out to bid once the plans are ready.
Plans are ready.
Right.
Okay.
And there is a calendar, which I don't have in my head. We're going out to bid at various times for projects between February and even later. I mean, some of them will be much later, depending on when the project starts. But no, the money is not the driving force there. It's the plans. And keep in mind, these plans still have to be approved. They were approved originally by the DOE. They have to go back to the DOE and be approved. The more detailed plans get approved again. Now, it's not a question of money. It's just a question of building. And then after they get approved to the DOE, then the local building inspector committee has to approve them. You have to have a letter in hand from DOE first. So when we talked about, again, going back to the last referendum, this one, the urgency of getting this thing earlier in the process to get to summer, you're looking at, 3 to 5 months of developing, submitting. I mean, there's a 90-day window that the state has when you submit the plans. Now, they've assured us, because on the second go-round, in this case, the third go-round, right, it won't take 90 days. But that's the process for that. So we're hoping, and that's why we'll have I think we'll have a much better handle on, real dates of when things are going. But we're looking at February into late January into March or April for projects that are going to begin in the summer.
Thank you.
Is there any indication regarding the cost of goods as far as the tariffs, which we had a couple of discussions where we were kind of thinking that would really impact?
They will be a factor. We'll see what happens when when those bids come in.
Yeah, I think one of the comments were made that they haven't really seen that impact yet, right? That was made by Bill, I believe, from Epic, right? But you never know. We're one tweet away, right?
And in the in that lengthy motion, it talks, I think, about that we're able to recover some costs that we've already put out of pocket. Can you just at a very high level speak of that? Just like what do you know approximately how much that is?
No, I'm waiting for the audit report to be done to tell me that number. I mean, I could do it myself, but see what they have to say first. Yeah, we've incurred costs over the last year and a half for the environmental work that's been done. Any pre-referendum work that was done, most of the pre-referendum work that was done last year can be recouped. The architects are working right now, and they'll be billing us, and we'll have to pay them before December 4th comes, or before Christmas time comes. And so, we'll recoup that as well. So I'll work with the auditors to make sure I get a true number as to what we can recoup, and we'll get it back.
You may recall last time, because we didn't have to do a lot of that work this time. It was already done, the environmental work and so on.
That's right.
We talked a lot about at-risk money before the last referendum, that we were putting money we were taking from, capital reserve, and we were saying we'll repay ourselves if the referendum passes, but we're at risk that if it failed, right, that money would have been gone. So that's the money we're talking about. It wasn't a lot of it this past one, because most of the work we did was good for the one that failed. So that concept is not real fresh in everybody's mind, but if you recall that we were talking about at-risk money, that's what we're talking about.
And those funds would go back in the capital reserves. So.
Very good.
Okay. I'd like to move motions 1 through 8.
Under Finance, moved and seconded by Mr. Mazzone. Last chance for any comments. Having none, ask the Secretary to pull the board.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Dr. Olati?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Librera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Motion's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving into policy, Mr. Healy.
We did not have a formal policy committee meeting since our last board meeting, but Mr. Hurley did indicate there may be some need for presenting 2 policies, I believe. I don't know if you want to talk about them right now or distribute them first.
Sure. Well, no, I don't have them to distribute yet, but I talked to Mr. Healy tonight. In just going through some research and on a question that came up, I noticed that in our policy, we don't have a age start date. We have you must be 5 before October 1st, enter kindergarten and so on. We don't have that for our preschool program, grade 3 and 4. And I think it's important that we have that. So we will add a paragraph to that policy, which will simply say a student is eligible to apply for a tuition-based preschool program if they are 3 on or before October 1st, and same for age 4. And then we also notice that it says free public education from pre-K to 12, which is not correct. It's not free at pre-K, nor does it have to be free at pre-K. So we're going to go make sure it says free for K to 12. So I don't think we need a committee meeting for that. But I'll bring it for November and December so we have the policy change.
Mr. Hurley, they'll be presented at November's meeting.
November for a first reading, yeah. Again, I don't think we need to get together to discuss that. Okay.
But for this evening, we have one motion for review and approval with 12 policies that we presented at the October 7th meeting. So this is the second reading for those as listed in the agenda. So I'd like to put them forward for approval.
We have a motion and seconded by Dr. Olati. Questions or comments before we poll the board? None. Ask the Secretary to poll the board, please.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Dr. Olati?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lebrera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on then to buildings and grounds. Mr. Mazzone?
Good evening. We have one motion this evening. We did not have a committee meeting this month, so just this one motion. This is the motion to put forward this evening is a comprehensive maintenance plan. This is required by the New Jersey Department of Education for 3-year plans for required maintenance for public school facilities. This motion will allow the business administrator to submit the 2019-2020 comprehensive maintenance plan in compliance with DOE.
Thank you.
I just have a question about how that is coordinated with the facilities improvement through the referendum. So all the items on that matrix are not the same items that we would be
No.
addressing, even in part through some of these projects, correct?
No.
Separate and
What's
apart.
in the matrix that you see is, this is an analysis of required maintenance, which is a very specific definition.
Mm-hmm.
So that's required maintenance of all the building systems as they are now. So, upgrade of HVAC systems,
Right.
it could be flooring, it could be roofs, that sort of
Right.
thing. It's all everything you see in that first column.
Right.
So it's really outside the scope of the
Outside the
referendum.
scope. Okay.
It's really, this is all part of, if you go into the budget, our annual budget, it's the line numbers 11000261. Those are all the required maintenance accounts.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Very good.
So I'd like to put motion 1.
Buildings and grounds, seconded by Mr. Rowland. No questions. I'll ask the secretary to poll the board.
Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes.
Dr. Olati?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Lebrera?
Yes.
Mr. Mazzone?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Rowland?
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. That completes the new business for this evening, so we'll move into old business or any business. Mrs.
I'd
Jones.
just like to give just a couple of reports on the convention, the workshop that Mr. Hurley and Mr. Kelly and myself attended. There are some great rules on sunshine law and questions and answers, fact or fiction. I have a copy. It's in color ink, and so maybe you could make a copy and give it to at the next board meeting. It's just good information on what you think you know, and I'll give you that. The other ones, the two of them that I just like to briefly speak about was the sustainable SEL, that is social and emotional learning. It's quite an interesting thing. I know Mr. Hurley took one too on that. This is about the whole child, every child, and the global child, and how every child is emotional, occupational, physical, social, intellectual, and spiritual sides, and all of this has to be understood as we teach these children and go forward. And the other one that was particularly interesting, they were wonderful speakers. David Gall, he's the Chief Academic Officer for Broward County. This is in Florida. This was rethinking the school safety post-Dartmouth, the after effects of what had happened. He talked about threat assessment teams, identifying students of concern, assess if they are a risk. We have to manage and mitigate if they are a risk. Once a threat assessment team has convened, then the parent should be noticed, but not before that. Monitoring social media, careful about sharing information with students, receiving counselor. 71% of the school shooters had been bullied themselves. It's a very interesting topic. There's another one that I sent to Dennis, and perhaps in December, that I would be interested in going again, to see it. But it's school safety, and it's something that we just need to be concerned. So that's all. I'll just leave you this one, and if Thank you very much.
Thank you. In the sustainable SEL, that was it was a presentation of just like
The gentleman was
current
great. Well,
trending
and what
practices
happened
and so.
how he himself was just going through so much turmoil. What could have been done? Could they have done? But he said that the student had analyzed everything. He actually walked into the building. He knew where everybody was. He walked in with his rifle bag.
We're talking about.
And
Wait,
assembled
we're talking
in
about
Parkland, in Parkland.
No, I was asking about the sustainable SEL, the first one you spoke
sorry.
about. I was just asking. It wasn't a particular aspect of curriculum or something like. It was just the concept of infusing.
Social. Oh, go ahead, Ms. Jones. I'm sorry. Social emotional learning is not anything you put into a curriculum necessarily. It isn't a lesson you teach. It isn't. It's just a cultural thing. It's our point of emphasis this year. Our opening day meeting, we spent probably an hour and 30 minutes of the 2-hour meeting on it with presentations from our 3 assistant principals and myself. It's something we've had going on in school. So it's some of it is programmatic, some of it is activities you do, some of it is just saying good morning to people and how was the play last night, or how'd your Little League game go? It's as simple as that in some cases. It's the concept that everybody should have somebody they can make a connection to. And the thing that we stressed on opening day, and we're doing some workshops, and Pierpont's, the entire workshop day that we just had was spent on SEL activities. They have a consultant who's coming in this year working with their teachers year-round. Some of the other buildings are doing it themselves, but it's just the idea that, like I said, on opening day, we have, I think we have 21, something like that. Mr. Matt, you should remember, you probably remembered every word I said, right? I think it was like 21 or 22 guidance counselors, school psychologists, SACs, right? And we have 2,700 kids, but we have 330 employees so if you do the per student ratio of those 330, it's a much better ratio of getting to know kids. And so you can say, it looks like he's having a problem today. It looks like he's having a bad day. And maybe you're not equipped to deal with that, but then you're equipped to refer to the person. So it's a concept that now is the concept in schools. It's so simple, but it's also so challenging.
Part of that was stressing mindfulness, as we
Yeah.
already do. Many board members here said that they haven't done anything in their district with it, so that was good to see that we've already implemented.
I'll give you one other example. It's a simple one from a video that we showed. One of the assistant principals showed a TED Talk, and this woman, a dynamic woman, I can't think of her name now, but she said, she was teaching classes where the kid would get 2 out of 20, and she'd write 2 on it and put a smiley face. And the student said, "Is this an F?" She said, "Well, yeah, but you got 2 right. We got something to build on." It's just the idea that positivity, giving that student the opportunity that maybe he can build on something, instead of saying, you got 18 wrong and big red F on it. So little things can go a long way. She also said, you're going to have students that you may not like, but they can never know that. You've got to have that connection with every kid. So that's what we're striving for, and that's part of, you said mindfulness, it's part of mindfulness and wellness. Growth mindset is a continuum as we're building towards more social emotional learning for kids. Whatever the reason is, there's more student emotional, psychological problems than we've ever had before. More student anxiety. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it, a huge part of it. Okay, I think it's a big part of it. A wonderful book I suggest you read if you're a parent, if you're a grandparent or a teacher, or you just care about what's happening. It's called How to Raise an Adult. Because and you and I had this conversation a little bit, kids are not allowed to play and create anymore. Kids are not allowed to do anything independently. They don't make decisions. I have 28-year-olds who today ask me, what's the best kind of beef to put in a crock pot? So I replied, lookitup.com. That's what I told her, figure it out. Okay? I mean, what's the best, we're thinking, in the concept that we're doing best for our children, we're not allowing them to ever make a decision, or fail, or create. So the first time that happens, you gotta get pretty anxious too. So part of social emotional learning is to try to empower kids. And that's part of our Parent Academy goal. To get parents in to have these conversations about how can we change the dynamic a little bit. But the fact is, regardless of whether this theory's right, that theory's wrong, whether that's causing it, something else, the reality is we're dealing with it. So we have to address it. And that's what we're working on. So, I'm glad you got a taste of that. I think if any of you come across articles about it, if you're not familiar with it, read it. It's something that, we're trying our best to work with kids on. Yes?
I don't know if everybody had a chance to read this.
The mental health thing, yeah.
Yeah, the whole, New Jersey SBA releases major report on student mental health services. It's very important that, you have to follow up and try to find out at an early age if there's any kind of problem with these children, and instead of people saying, well, no one knew that, we have to try.
At the conference, I attended a workshop Westwood High School presented. And they have a program, a therapeutic program in their school where they've actually contracted with Care Plus, and they have a provider in the building full-time. Not hired by them, but an outside provider that they bring in, so that they have someone there to give more therapy and more immediate assessment for students who are having problems. I mean, if you told me that was going to be a case in a school, especially a school in Northern Bergen County, 10 years ago, I would have said crazy. But it's what we're dealing with. So we have to figure out ways to cope with it. Yes?
You know how fast time flies? I remember when my son started school, it was a big problem because the city didn't want them to put the wiring through for the computers. And why are we going to spend $200 on, like these computers, $200,000? So, I mean, times change and it goes quickly.
Now we're getting therapy dogs.
Different needs, yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Jones. I was going to ask about that, and the same, you've already started, but one thing I think has always been very positive for us is that you look for best practices. It's not necessarily have to be something we're inventing here. So, I mean, from your time at the school, was there anything else that kind of jumped out that, I know you don't like to talk about things before you've got a concrete plan. But I don't know if there was anything.
No, I think we're looking at, in fact, I'm going to have a conversation with the superintendent up in Westwood, who was part of the presentation. Their plan, I don't think is our plan necessarily, but you cherry pick things. No, I wouldn't say particularly. I think some of the things that I was interested in was more of the SEL stuff and just I shared with, because that's a focus for us this year.
From your time?
What, at the school boards?
Yeah. Anything that jumped out as?
Not really. I honestly didn't even attend any of the courses, but I had a full schedule of meetings over the course of over 2 days. As Jack mentioned, with the architects, with the project managers, we met with the communications people, we met with bond counsel, we met with a financial advisor. We normally meet with the auditor during this meeting. He wasn't able to make it, so we didn't. I sit on the board of trustees for our insurance fund, so we had our annual reorganization meeting. So it was very busy. I mean, it was a very productive time without going to any programs. So.
I would also just throw in future years if board members, especially if you're a new board member, because we will have new board members, I think it's a great way to get some of your mandated training done, and also to attend some other workshops and interact with other board members and other districts. I think it's a good thing. A lot of the workshops are geared to catch board members who aren't professionals. They're not in it every day, up to speed on some topics, and I think that's a good thing, where it's giving you an outline, so there's more understanding. If it's something then you really feel you want to grab hold of, you can dig into it a little more. So it is a good thing if you can make that trip next year.
Good, thank you. The moving on then to if there's no other old business or news? No? Moving to a legislative update, Mr. Rowland.
Yes, we have a local point of interest with the recent passing on to the town's planning board about the possibility of the Agnew Place development being a large building. So the facts are, because I know there's some unfortunate hyperbole about it, that it could possibly be up to an 8-story building, not necessarily. It could have 185 units, and it's approved for up to 45% of those units to be 2 bedrooms, meaning families come in. So, something for us to find out more about and keep on top of for the possible influx, however small, medium, or large it may be.
It hasn't gone through the planning board yet.
No.
No, it has not gone through the planning.
Right, no, I know.
That's this month later on, or mid-November.
They said it passed, though. I read somewhere it passed. I was shocked.
No, it
It
hasn't.
passed, it passed, the town okayed it to have a skyscraper, that's the way the plan.
Yeah, and the word skyscraper is kind of alarmist. It will be a high-rise building at its maximum.
But where is this again,
Agnew
Agnew
Place.
Place is the small street where the DPW used to be.
The triangle, when you come across by the railroad tracks, that little
Between Erie
triangle there
and
by
Union.
Erie and Union.
I believe
There's a
8
gas station on the corner.
stories.
The guy changed my oil there.
So it's supposed to remove possibly remove the street of Agnew Place and go to the backyards of the houses on Chestnut. So that would become
Oh, it's
a,
over there,
we just got to keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
The other thing is that there's another candidate's opportunity for a school board and anybody on the ballot at the Rutherford Library on the Saturday, November 2nd, I believe that is, 10:30 to 12. So it's open forum. Anybody can show up.
This is for school board or this is council?
For anyone that's on the ballot, whether they're school board or whatever, it's something the library opened up to us. At the library, 10:30 till noon.
That's this weekend?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
What's the procedure, as the planning board is considering housing units, is there some normal procedure that they're consulting with?
When our demographic report was done, they checked with the borough, and that was not in the hopper then, right? The last demographic report. Normally, what happens, we have heard from either the borough manager or the mayor that these things are coming. I did hear that there was the possibility, about 6-7 months ago, of this tall building. And then I heard there was going to be problems with zoning for that in terms of the height of it. And then I heard it was kind of dormant for a while, but I've not heard anything recently.
Yeah, so the information I had was October 10th.
Of this year.
There was some updates to what the potential could be. October 15th, they agreed that it will move on to the planning board. But there's no work permits, there's no bulldozers gassing up or anything.
So this is like a proposal that some company is making?
Development plan.
Development.
Proposal.
Okay.
And there's also a development proposal for the Williams Center? That could include residential, I think.
I think that's...
More nebulous, we don't know.
Yeah, I think that's one that nobody really wants to touch.
The developer has not purchased any of the properties.
No,
Date that I have.
Okay. I asked about the Williams Center, and that was, this one wants this, and this one wants that, and this one thinks this is a good idea, and nobody can seem to come, and the county's involved in that, too, so.
Yes.
So that's another sticky wicket there, because they have to get it.
Okay. But in the meantime, we can go over to the American Dream and get slimed, I guess.
Yeah, we could, yeah. Well, I don't have to go over there to get slimed, I get slimed.
Okay. At 9:05 then, we will open the meeting for public comment on any topic. Don't everyone rush at once to the microphone. Okay. At 9:05, we'll close the meeting to the public for any comments. And Mr. Mazzone, we need an executive session this evening to discuss a student and an employee. 2 students?
Well, 1 student and 2 employees.
1 student and 2 employees. And action may or may not be taken, and we expect to return in 30 minutes?
Maybe less.
Okay.
We'll see.
Seconded by Mrs. Jones. All in favor? Aye. We're in executive session. Thank you.